critique, the critical reader. So key aim is to help you talk about the concerns of your own practice and situate them in relation to a wider context. It's to help you think and write critically through exploring in-depth, relevant key practices, theories, debates, and movements. Any questions about that so far? So in your dissertation, in your writing, we will work together to create a critical question that is going to enable you to analyse particular sets of debates or artists or designers, etc. Yeah, but the kind of question is really important for you to help think through this stuff. Now, I'm not expecting necessarily to have your own practice in your dissertation, yeah, but you can if it fits. So for my PhD, I had 4 different chapters based on 4 installations that was then bringing through in each of them the kind of research questions. But what has tended to happen in the past is that people have a research question and then they write about it and they stick to practice on the end. It doesn't really work. So if your practice is all the way through, then that's absolutely fine. But a kind of tacking on at the end, it kind of tends to be a bit flat in that respect. So I then ask you to remove it. But keep your mind in terms of what your own practice is when you're writing. So, firstly, what you need to do, what the objective is to produce a piece of work both related to and supporting level 6 practice. Now, this supporting, similar to what you've done in the first and second year, it doesn't, it doesn't have to be absolutely exactly what you're doing in your practice, but it does have to be relevant to your practice. It facilitates students' in-depth inquiries into contemporary and historical context. I think that's fairly self-explanatory, and to demonstrate a high level of academic ability. So this is the assessment. So 30 credits, you have to do what we've called a critical inquiry. So an in-depth research-based investigation into an area that interests you and relates to and informs your critical studies. The outcome would either be a 4,000-word extended essay or an alternative written format with agreement from me. Now, your critical inquiry should help you articulate the concerns of your own practice and situate them within a wider context. So this is just about being aware of what your practice is and what your interests are and what your research interests are.
It's just 4,000 words.
4,000 words, yeah.
But
Not bad.
that's just 10,000 words. That's what I did say.
Yeah. Well, welcome to
6,000 words.
Say again.
I'm proposing 6,000 words. How much less is it?
Well, it doesn't mean that you won't write that amount. It's just the editing down of it and the different kinds of.
I mean, what is it different for each university, like, or what? A course?
I'm not sure how much it is on the BA course. I mean, ours is 4,000 because personally I feel that there's enough wordage there for you to go in depth and really kind of beating around and something. It used to be 5,000 and I wasn't really seeing any extra depth I was seeing in the record, so I think 4,000 is enough to be You can make a special case if you want to write 10,000. Okay, so I've said this in a variety of different ways. The topic must relate to and support your studio work and must address a specific theory, question and problem. Now, I don't expect you to be at that stage now or even at the beginning of next term, but you will need to identify pretty quickly the field in which you want to research. Must be manageable in the word limit. So 4,000 words, it's going to be more depth than the 1,500, but not, you still can't write about life in the universe and everything. You still need to narrow it down. And then it must indicate and critically evaluate different perspectives of the issue. So it's all the stuff that I've been banging on about before, really. What's the question? What have other people written around the field? What do you think about what they say, and what do you think? Rigorous independent research into critical, theoretical, historical themes and context that inform your practice, and that your practice might also give back. Any questions on that one? So these are the two options. 4,000 word essay or alternative written format. Now, the alternative written format isn't a soft option. In fact, you almost need to be more rigorous to be able to do the alternative written format well. So both of them will require the same research skills that you use. So still need to focus literature research. So all the stuff at the beginning, all the kind of research or the reading around the topic, you're still going to need to do that in as much depth for whichever of the options you choose. You need to evidence independent, critical and reflective thinking and writing. So if you're doing an alternative format, you need to think about how you're going to get that critique in there. And well-structured arguments, and then a referencing system. Now what some people have done is, in an alternative written format, is extended footnotes or annotated bibliography. If you think about Harvard referencing, it's got the bibliography at the end, then some people have done an annotated bibliography, which is like an extended bibliography that puts some critique and analysis into it. Questions on this one? So now I think I've talked through some of these in relation to level 5, haven't I? So I'm not going to really spend that much time on these. And we'll look at these in September in a bit more detail as well. So these are examples of kind of the alternative written format. So Jeremy Deller's kind of mind map linking acid house to brass bands. And if you're going to do something like this, then you will need to find a way to kind of get critique in here as well. So that might be through hypertext links or some other way that you still get critical analysis into it. That's a really cool one. That's sort of linking time travel to different films and tellies. And you can see there's some great infographic books in the library. One of them is called Information is Beautiful, and there's another one, I think it's just called Infographics, and it's like this big. So if you can get that one out of the library, you'll be doing that. So this, again, these are different, sorry about the quality of these, different timelines, and different kind of crossings over. So you might want to think about where your arguments cross over with other debates and how you can manifest that either in your writing and in your visuals. Yeah, so this is another example of an alternative written format. There's some other infographics as well. And if you're interested in kind of more animation side of these things in terms of visualising your alternative written format, then look at data-driven documents. If you Google data-driven documents, you'll find some of these that then kind of become alive, that have animation within them, that they move around. So that would be quite a nice one to kind of explore if you're interested in animation. And this was Chris Corman's MA, so he was doing stuff on identity of the builder and conforming masculinity, and his piece was given to Henry on a stud partition wall. He was working on a building site at the time. He's kind of written in builder's pencil in kind of vernacular kind of builder speak, and then the footnotes were on kind of wrapped up bits of bank paper and bits of tabloids, kind of some newspaper, etc. So still kind of rigorous, kind of critical inquiry, but also quite playful and not a straightforward written essay. So I'm open to your suggestions on how you want to write it. It doesn't have to be a straight academic essay, it can be, but if you do decide to kind of deviate from that, then you have to have a strong idea of how you want to manifest that. As I said, you can easily get it wrong. Yeah. So I'm sure this is familiar to you. So level 4 was initial understanding, central skills and basic understanding. This is what you've been doing all this year, hopefully. You've been extending your knowledge, you've been developing your skills, and you've developing your critical understanding. Level 6, we expect you to step up further again, which is why it's really important that you attend all the sessions as well. So looking at sophisticated knowledge. Now a lot of So we have, well, I'll show you the sessions in a minute. Sophisticated knowledge, advanced skills, and deep understanding. Yeah? Now you can't do that alone in the sessions that you see me. There is an expectation that you'll be doing a lot more outside of the sessions. Yeah? I think I'm going to go through this next year, so I'll link this onto your essays for next year. It's the same model that we've used. It's just that the percentages change slightly different next year. So the contextual knowledge becomes a bigger percentage of the overall mark, basically. I'm going to leave that. We can talk about that next year. It's a structure. Okay. So primary study mode here is you get 3 one-to-one tutorials. Now at least 2 of them will be with me, and you'll get one next week as well, so that's 4 in a way, I suppose. And then we're going to be discussing over the summer with the other tutors about the kind of best arrangement to see whether some of your practice tutors can give you tutorials around the essay as well. And then we're going to have study skills groups. So there's going to be about 4 study groups where you meet as a whole group but split into specific groups. And the idea of these groups is that you help each other solve the problems particular to your essay, particular to your research. So you're all going to be, you have different issues. That some of you might be finding the reading around the subject difficult, others might be finding structuring difficult. And so rather than us giving you a 2-hour top-down, this is how you write an essay, it's going to be much more you finding out and sharing good practice with each other specific to your problems and issues that you're having about writing. Okay. Those are study skill groups. Email support, so I'm there to offer email support, and you also have presentations. So the timeline then. I can't stress enough, it's not written in stone. I don't expect you to keep this. There's not an oath that you have to sign and this is what you're going to write about. But it does just start the process of getting it out of here and start thinking about, so that we can enable you to kind of verbalise some of your interests, yeah? So you've got your proposed title and topic area, so just, broad brushstrokes at the moment, with an idea of what specific areas and what specific issues that you want to talk about. Yeah. Now, if you've got a few and you're not sure about, then just put them down. Yeah? Just fill it in as best you can. How it relates to your own practice, and then propose bibliography. So it would be good for you to kind of, for next week, to have at least one book or journal article identified here to be specific about what you're going to read over the summer. Any anticipated problems, so think about things like breadth, time management, etc. Any questions on the research? And again, if you're not sure, just fill it in as best you can, and we can talk about that at the tutorial. Okay, so that's what I want you to do. Sorry, those dates are wrong, ignore those dates. That's what I want you to do for Thursday and Friday next week. And we're going to be in GM4, so above the print room, which is the old office, our old office. So summer work, the more stuff you can read, the more you can start thinking about planning. There will be time next term to do this detailed plan, so don't worry about too much around that in the summer. But the more stuff you can read around and identify your area, the kind of better stead you're going to be for next term. Okay, you'll have a one-to-one tutorial with me in September. And then you get 2 more October, November time. And then I expect you to upload the detailed plan probably the end of September. So it's pretty sharpish. You kind of have to hit the ground running for this module here to get the most out of the feedback from me and the other tutors. So detailed plan in September, and then you give a presentation to the tutors, to practice tutors. There's usually two there, a practice tutor and me, or two practice tutors. October, November time, something like that. So we've called that, what do we call it? Footnotes or something like that. So it's your relevance between your research, what you're making and what you're writing, but with a focus on what your research is for your writing. First draft in November, now, and final handing in December. Now, I would suggest that you take advantage of getting your first draft done by November, so that first of all, you might get some chance of getting some feedback on it. If you want feedback from me, you need at least give me 5 days, and I'll read sections of the draft. So give you a bit at the beginning, a bit in the middle, and at the end. And it also, if you've got a draft by November, you'll also be able to put it aside a bit and just leave it and come back to it. You know, if you're only writing the first draft in December, I think you're going to be struggling to kind of get distance from it, get kind of critical distance from it. We all know that, and what happens on the ground isn't necessarily the same as that, but that, you know, this is an ideal scenario, okay? December, it's handed in, that's it. And then you start in January with the final term. Now you'll be working. What date do you actually come back? I'm not sure. Does anyone know that? Yeah, it's usually mid to end September. 20. I mean, do you get sent a timetable out soon, or what's the? Say again.
You can know, I can use it.
Okay, that's not very much notice, is it? Okay, I'll speak to Sue about that.
Yeah, I did ask, because obviously we've got a job to do.
Yeah, definitely. Well, presumably that knowledge is there somewhere, you know, institutionally.
I think when the last time I spoke to Sue, not sure whether
Right. Okay. Just been going through the presentation. It'll be up on Moodle as well, page 5102. So, any questions on the dates in terms of where you're at with stuff? This will 6102 will go alongside a practical project as well. So you will still need to put those time management skills in place, because you have to, you know, you have to manage both modules at once. Okay. Where to start with your proposal? So if your head looks a bit like this is how you visualise your head. How is it you're going to kind of just start doing a bit of research? Well, I suggest that initially think about the ideas discussed in level 5. Think about what you're interested in, what kind of questions you might want to explore, and what kind of context, what kind of critical context. Again, we've banged on about this, make sure the subject has some relation to your practice, and use the essay to inform your practice rather than this dry, standalone piece of work. Really make that research work both for your practice and for your writing. Think about what interests you, that's really key for it. If you're doing some random subject, you're going to be pretty bored with it like 2 months in. Yeah? So what floats your boat? And also, something that I've found quite helpful is to write about your own practice, to sit with your practice, to kind of be in the same space as your practice, and just write with it, write the sound up, write through it, write from different voices about your own practice. Imagine what your own practice might say to you if you talk, you know, if you make competence of writing about your practice you can do, the more knowledge you're going to gain about your own practice. And I can't stress this enough in terms of thinking about writing as a practice. Yeah. So the more you write about your object and about your research and about the artists and designers you're interested in, the more you are producing. You are producing knowledge. So it's not necessarily just I'm writing what I think. It's about you write to decide what you think. It's a practice, writing as a practice. Broad starting points at this time, that's absolutely fine. That's kind of the place to be at. Initially, to kind of begin your research and find out which one to focus on. So at this stage, so for example, if the one's got 3 or 4 areas, that's absolutely fine at this stage. Just kind of doing a bit more reading around the subject. And so for next week, this is where I want you to fill in your research proposal and be ready to discuss it. Now, as I said before, it's not set in stone. It's just about you to start talking about your ideas. Not even the ideas if you haven't got those yet, just the kind of broad research field that you're interested in. Think about what you want to write about and have some idea of what sources are available. So if you've got a good bibliography for the summer, that's going to put you in good stead for kind of September. And then, so at the end of today, try and fill this in, go into the library, do a sudden search, get a book or 2 out about what you're interested in. And I'm not expecting you to read them for next week, but I'm expecting you to be able to talk to me for next week about what you're interested in. Questions on that? Just to remind you about the summons search on iCity, there's a few key buttons that are useful on that. So one of them, there's a slider for dates. So if you're interested in more kind of contemporary writing about your area, then slide that date from 1941 up to like the 1990s. Yeah, and that will kind of clear out a load of stuff that you're not interested in. The other one is to go onto the database Art4Text, which can more or less guarantee that there will be online sources available to you. And then the other important button on it is the clear filters. If you've done a search before and you've got the same filters up, then you'll miss other stuff unless you press the clear filter button. And if you just want at this stage to get books out rather than journal articles, that's fine. Then just click. There's a book clicker on some, so you can just reduce it to books.
Did you say that we write after like the factory?
Yeah. It's kind of self-directed. I mean, they might begin with an initial kind of short project just to get you making. I don't know. It's taking them 6 months to. But yeah, it starts from your own. Yeah. But again, it's not. Okay, yeah, there you go. It doesn't. You know, if you're interested in taxidermy, your writing can be. Any questions on that for next week? Okay. Now, I know some of you find essay writing hard. I find essay writing hard. If you know it's a particularly weak area for you and you want to get the best mark possible, then speak to the Centre for Academic Success. Yeah? It's really up to you at this stage to get help early rather than leave it to the last minute. Yeah. We had one student last year that worked really hard over the summer getting kind of going to workshops, so Centre for Academic Success, as well as one-to-one tutorials over the summer. They also offer workshops on essay writing, research and planning. Now that starts in September. If you know that it's a weak area for you, then it's up to you to kind of bridge that gap through things like this. Yeah. We can't bridge that for you. It's for you to step up and you have to work harder than anybody else if you know that essays are not a strong point. Yeah. Okay, and these two people are pretty good to speak to. Stephen. And Linda has a background in art as well. She's been an art teacher. So it's not completely out of her field. And as I'm sure I've banged on about for a long time, they've got lots of study guides. This is just one of the study guides on research skills. So take one of these away with you today. There may well be a few essays that are made today. If you can't remember what you've read, then you need to think about the best way of taking notes on those. Has everyone got one of these? Internet I think I'm more or less finished, but this is Janice's email. So Janice is the librarian that you met before. If you're struggling with your searches, you can't see the proof, please then contact her. It's very helpful. And this is my contact, I think you all know that by now. But just in that evaluation form, if it says, did you know how to contact your tutor? That's it. So, any questions about